Welcome back to another video, guys. I am back at the bittersweet house flip project again today. So today, it's actually Monday morning. I think it's time to get started on this front porch. I've alluded to these front columns on several other videos. I just keep putting it off. So my plan was to reuse these concrete block columns, fix the caps, replace the posts, just get everything cleaned up. And then this porch itself it's uneven, it's got soft spots, and I knew from the very beginning I was gonna have to do some rebuilding of this thing. So I came yesterday and I power washed the soffit, kind of got that cleaned up. It's about the only thing in this whole house that I'm going to hopefully reuse. Everything else is going to be all new siding, soffit, gutters, everything. But so anyway, I got to digging around this porch a little bit. So this side over here, you can see down below the actual framing is all blocked off, so you can't really see what's going on in there. This step, I knew that this step was going to have to be torn out. The way they've got this wooden step framed up on here is a total joke. This thing is, I mean, it's fallen off. So I knew that had to be addressed. I knew I had some crumbling block here. Wasn't too excited about that. What I didn't realize was this side over here is actually open. There's just a piece of lattice on there. So I popped that off yesterday and I got to looking underneath this thing, and you're not going to probably see anything from this video because it's dark. But shortly, I'm going to pull all the deck boards off of this, and then you can see the construction technique that I've got going on underneath this porch. So it's, long story short, this thing is not salvageable. It was built, you can tell because of the timbers. You know, this thing has been here for a long time. And interesting building techniques. You know, it's one of those things, whatever, 75, 80, 100 years ago when they built things, they built them a little bit different than what we do now. Some of it is, I don't know, like there's that joist there, it's not even really a joist, it's just a little blocking piece basically. But long story short, I already said that, but this whole thing's gonna have to come off, which I'm not excited about because I did not budget for time or capital to rebuild this whole front porch, but it's just what I'm gonna have to do. I don't have a choice. So as I was kind of surveying the mess here yesterday, my first plan was gonna be to try to reuse these columns, but for a couple reasons that's not gonna work. So for one, these columns are not straight, and I knew that. I knew it was a problem. So it's like these two end ones actually are fairly plumb. These two in the middle lean back toward the house. So that's not good. The other thing is, because of the way this thing is constructed, I'm gonna have to dig holes to get posts in the ground to support the front edge, the outer rim of this thing. So what I think at this point in time, I'll see as I start tearing into everything, but my plan as of this morning is I'm going to strip everything out. Everything's going to be gone from the house out. I'm going to have to temporarily support this beam that's holding this porch roof up, and I'm gonna dig in footings, put 6x6 posts, new posts, to support the front, and then the deck will actually hang off of those posts, and then of course ledger board back to the house and build it right. It shouldn't be too terrible bad. This is only an 8-foot span. It's 24 feet across the front of the house, and it's just under an 8-foot span, I believe, from the house out. So you know, it shouldn't be too bad to build it. I can easily do it with 2x8 material. Try to keep costs down just a little bit, although it's still going to be, I bet, at least a couple $1,000s in materials that I hadn't planned on. But what are you going to do? It can't be like this, especially the front of the house. It's got to be right, it's got to look good. So it's just gonna, it's an investment in time and money that I'm just gonna have to make. So first step is get all this 5/4 decking off, and I started just kind of ripping it off yesterday because there's kind of random screws here or there. Most of the screws are stripped out and I can't get them out, and so I might go around and see what I can pull out, but this is probably going to be kind of cut it up and rip it out with a crowbar work mostly. So I guess let's get started and get this thing torn apart. All right, that's probably far enough to give you a pretty good idea what I'm seeing under there. So, I mean, so everywhere you look, we got, I mean, I just can't even, just issues everywhere. Just issues everywhere. And as you can see, as I'm trying to pull some of this stuff apart, check that out. You got pieces scabbed onto scabs, Got one post there in the middle. It's just sitting on the ground on a piece of wood. Over here, this, I don't know if the name's safe to stand on. This contraption here is, as I'm trying to pull this board up, just everything is, see that one fell off. This corner is, this is what's holding up the corner of the deck. It's a 4x4, sort of loosely sitting on a chunk of wood laying on the ground. So that gives you an idea of why I decided this thing has to come off when I looked underneath it. I had no idea it was going to be like that. But this is going to be one of those things that's going to feel really good to get it replaced with new. Alright, I've got this thing all torn apart now, and you can kind of make sense out of the way that they built this thing originally. So you can see that big 6x6 coming out of the house, out of the rim there. Basically the kind of a pseudo ledger that they built there, and that beam comes across and it actually sits on the concrete wall here. You can see down there they've got it supported on a 4x4, but originally that's how that was built, and then they ran these 2x6 like stringer joists in between these beams. They've got one out here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 2x sitting on that foundation there. And then I'm not exactly sure what happened over here, but they apparently ran out of lumber. I gotta be careful where I step. This is all just, yeah, like that. So you can see that they started out with another one of those 6x6s, and I'm not sure if this is all they had, and so then they scabbed on some, those are 2x10s. That's like framing out of the basement, the joists that they use in the basement. So they scabbed that on, and then they kind of set this on a, I don't know, maybe that's actually on a footer. It's probably just sitting on the ground. But anyway, this is kind of collapsed. And then at some point they tried to reinforce it with a fence post there. But, you know, I suppose when they originally built this thing, it was probably solid. Sure it was. Old timers built stuff solid, but it just deteriorated over the years, and then as people tried to repair it and kind of hold it together, it just all went downhill. So you can see that, you know, that 4x4 that's holding up that outside rim there was obviously added more recently. Actually, the treads on this deck they're still green on the bottom, and they're not terribly old. You know, this joist that's running across here was either too short or rotted off, I'm not sure, so they just scabbed another one on there, and you can see how well that worked out. That's right. That when I walked up on this deck, there's always a soft spot, and that right there is the center spot that you'd walk up on. So this is interesting, really interesting, but at least it makes sense now that I see how this was built. You know, they probably, the way this was built originally, the decking should have actually been running perpendicular into the house, but whoever did this last time wanted to run parallel, so then they started adding in these little these are actually just chunks of 5/4 decking is what that is, to give support so that their deck boards had something to land on. So definitely interesting, definitely needs to be taken down, and gonna be a huge improvement when I'm done. I was trying hard to take this apart in a way so that you could see how it was built, but this side over here just fell apart. I couldn't even hold it together. It just toppled down. So now I'll just start ripping the rest of this out, and it shouldn't go too bad. I'll just start cutting stuff apart. But anyway, just want to give you an update and show you what I've got. I want to show you one more thing quick before I tear this apart. So this is just kind of a quick tip, pro tip. If your deck ever gets soft and it starts to get, you know, weak, like here, because everything is falling apart and rotted, all you do is you go and you grab your jack out of the trunk of your car and set that on a piece of broken concrete, and then you stick a 2x4 on there, and then, oops, I weakened it, and then you just jack that up, and that's how you support that, and that way everything will stay solid. So I want to make sure you had that tip. Whoa. Jeez. You know, you hear people sometimes talk about, oh, that deck is dangerous and things are unsafe, and the vast majority of the time I see that as like, yeah, whatever. That's not gonna fall down unless you put an elephant on it. In this case, this thing is truly dangerous. This could have fallen down. Pretty bad. right, it's a big step to reach, getting those columns down. The PVC, the PVC pipe columns. Now I just need to get rid of these concrete block columns. All right, guys, there you go. The old porch is out. So I've got a bunch of cleanup to do here. Excuse me. Getting these heavy blocks picked up. I'm glad I have the tractor for that. And I apologize, the wind is just howling today, so I'm trying to kind of hide inside the house and around the corner to stay out of the wind. But anyway, at this point, so as you can see, I've got everything fully supported. And now I need to get these, there's a base block in there. So basically these piers they're down in the ground about, I guess probably about 8 inches. Those are 8-inch blocks. So I've got to get those dug out, all 4 spots. My new piers are going to go back in pretty much the exact same spot. Those are all spaced equally 8 foot across. So it's going to take a little bit of work to get those dug out, get all this block cleaned up out of the way, and then it'll be time to start drilling some holes and pour some footings for the new porch. So that's it for now. I'm going to go ahead and make a part 2 of this video once I start putting this deck back together. Kind of excited to actually get going in the right direction now, getting all this old rotten thing tore out of here. So I appreciate you guys watching the video. Hit the like button, subscribe to my channel if you're interested in seeing more steps to this project, and we'll see you in the next video.